Good evening, Americans, and welcome to the Ed Show live from Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. I'm ready to go. Well, let's get to work.
It might be well you would ask yourself.
We're in the midst of a serious financial crisis.
Ask yourself.
It's pretty hard to find an economic measure where we're not significantly better off.
There's new normal under the Obama economy.
I don't have to tell you about the stock market.
On Wall Street, a record-breaking day for stocks, new all-time highs.
Unemployment now lower than it was pre-Lehman.
Unemployment dropping to 6.1%, the lowest in nearly 6 years.
The auto industry recovering.
It let Detroit go bankrupt.
When it comes to deficits, we've cut it by more than half.
The Obama economy. The Obama economy is not working.
Are you better off than you were?
Good to have you with us tonight, folks. Thanks for watching. You know, it is July 25th. NFL teams are going to training camp. Folks around the country who love the sport are thinking about their fantasy football team coming up this fall. Who do you pick? Well, when you pick, you want performance, you want numbers, you want some hard stuff to go on when you say, yeah, I want that player. Well, tonight, I'm going to give you some numbers that you just can't argue with. We want to start tonight with the undercovered story in America. It's the Obama economy. The biggest piece of hidden news in recent months, as I see it, is great news surrounding America's economic recovery. It really is almost amazing. The Obama economy is booming. How can we not make that case? Typically, the president is always reluctant to talk about good economic news. He's always been so concerned about the downtrodden and don't want to oversell how good things are because they don't want to hurt folks that are out there still looking for work. But hold the phone. On Thursday, we saw a reversal in a different tone from the president. President Obama had no problem highlighting America's recent economic success in an interview with CNBC.
If you think about where we were, Steve, when I came into office and where we are now, it's pretty hard to find an economic measure where we're not significantly better off. I don't have to tell you about the stock market and where that's gone. Corporate profits, record highs, but also unemployment now lower than it was pre-Lehman. We've seen the housing market recover, although not as fast as we'd like. The auto industry recovering. We remain the most dynamic, innovative economy in the world.
Yeah, Mr. President, just a little bit more enthusiasm there. This is great stuff. And they, of course, were trying to pin all the doldrums on you. Remember back in 2009, after the inauguration, everybody was talking about on the conservative side, well, when is this as Obama's economy? Now, admitting that the economy needs improvement, the president is spot on. Here are the facts. He's right about the stock market. It's hitting record highs. The Dow Jones routinely topped 17,000. Now, we've seen the market surge through some international crises in recent weeks, have we not? The most recent job report shows that we added 288,000 jobs in June. We have had 52 months of private sector job growth, uninterrupted. 52 straight months, headed for 53. 9.7 million jobs have been added since early 2010. Now, that's significant because there was some bill called Obamacare that passed back then. Everybody said it was going to be a job killer. The unemployment rate has now dropped to 6.1%. It's the lowest rate since September of 2008. Oh, let's not forget the automobile industry. That's booming, too. Remember, the Republicans didn't want to do, quote, they said the bailout. No, it was a loan. It's being paid back. It's good for the Treasury, and it's saved a lot of jobs. The housing market has rebounded. Your home is worth more today. Corporate profits are through the roof, and they are record highs in many cases. And this thing called Obamacare that they have voted to get rid of in the Republican House, where's the march to get rid of it? People kind of like it. It's working better than ever. Now, everything I've said is a fact. Everything I've said is a fact. It's truly a remarkable turnaround in the midst of all the naysayers. All this was done in the face of blatant Republican obstruction, a Congress that will not work with this president. President Obama made it clear if Republicans did their jobs, America would be in much better shape.
There are some things that are holding us back. The main thing that's holding us back is inaction by our federal government on things like infrastructure, on raising the minimum wage, on doing some things that would help middle-class families feel a little bit of relief. If we do those things, then we're going to be in pretty good shape.
That's a big if, because it's going to be a real hard sell to get the Republicans on board with anything with this president. They are back to claiming a wage increase for workers in this country would kill jobs.
I want the American people to realize, every member of the Senate that votes for the minimum wage is voting to tell up to 1 million Americans, your jobs don't matter to me, because I'm voting to take away your job.
You don't believe the studies that suggest moving it to 10-10 is not going to be a game changer in terms of hurting the economy? Some people have even suggested
I think it will hurt the economy.
Some people suggest it would help the economy.
I disagree with that. I think it will hurt the economy because it raises the price of labor.
Liberals offer up increases in taxes and the minimum wage as ways of helping the struggling earn more. What they don't tell you is that these policies would result in many people like Christine potentially losing their jobs.
Republicans are wrong. States that increased the minimum wage created more jobs than states that did not raise the minimum wage. Over the past several years, Republicans, in fact, have been wrong on nearly every facet of the economy. Let's roll it back to 2012. We were told repealing the Bush tax cuts would hurt the job creators.
That was money they were going to invest in creating a job, or that was money they were going to spend into the economy. Now the government's going to take it.
You want to talk about a train wreck? You're talking about a big one.
You can't be for jobs and against the very people who create the jobs. Our friends on the other side are practicing what could best be described as Thelma and Louise economics. Let's just march the whole country right off the cliff.
Let's extend where we are now, as opposed to looking at a cliff in January that would cause, well, real distress for the economy.
Again, Republicans were wrong. It's all theory, pie in the sky. None of it came true. They were wrong on everything. Now, after the Bush tax cuts, we have to point out that when they expired, corporate profits went through the roof. President Obama said that the business of America would move forward with the expiration of the Bush tax cuts. Well, the Republicans were telling us it was going to be a job killer. The green line here is when the tax cuts expired. We've seen 18 straight months of private sector job growth since we went back to the old Clinton rates. Well, Republicans told us that Obamacare was going to kill jobs.
When Obamacare was debated in Congress, we screamed from the rooftops that it just wouldn't work, that it would be a job killer.
Obamacare is the biggest job killer in this country.
Let's repeal this failure before it literally kills women, kills children, kills senior citizens. Let's not do that. Let's love people.
But there's only one escape hatch that will fully help those trapped by this law, and that's full repeal.
In my opinion, Obamacare is the biggest job killer we have in America today.
Job killer. Republicans were wrong again. This is where it gets really good. If you look at the numbers, it's clear Obamacare did not kill jobs. If anything, Obamacare created jobs in this country. You see, after the law was signed, the economy added over 9 million jobs since President Obama put his name right on that piece of paper and signed the Affordable Care Act. How could the Republicans be so wrong by millions of people? Republicans, as I see it, in the final analysis as we roll to this midterm, they have zero credibility on the economy. They have been wrong on everything, and they continue to be wrong. Americans need to remember this when they hear the argument against infrastructure investment and minimum wage. When you look at the ledger, it's absolutely amazing where President Obama, when he took over this economy and where we are today. Democrats need to stop being so shy. Democrats need to stop being so shy and tout the Obama economy. If Democrats can't go home and run on these numbers, then maybe they should think about a different line of work. This is part of public service. Making people feel good about America and the way this country is moving forward. There's a lot of negative news out there. It would be easy to start the Ed Show every night with negative story, negative story, negative story. Wait a minute. Democrats, you want to win the South? Go home and talk about the numbers. Go home and talk about the absolutes. Go home and talk about how no one from the Republican camp has been on board with this president from day one on the economy. They fought him on automobiles. They fought him on the stimulus package. They voted to repeal Obamacare. They won't do anything on minimum wage. They want to help the corporations outsource jobs overseas. They want to protect their profits offshore. Everything this president has tried to do with the economy, the Republicans have said it won't work. And they have failed every single time. If you can't run on that, don't run. If you can't run on that, don't run. It's easy. It's a slam dunk, if there ever was one, to be able to go home and say, America is headed in the right direction. The Democrats have been correct on the economy from day one. The progressive agenda has brought this country back strong. And nobody in the corporate world is crying about the bottom line. In fact, I read a story earlier today that said, you know, layoffs aren't as frequent as they used to be in our economy. We're moving in the right direction. If you are a fair-minded American, and you care about jobs and you care about our economy and your kids' future, whether you're a liberal or a conservative, middle of the road, green, pink, blue, whatever, do you think it's worth a phone call to your representative and just to ask them, why can't we build bridges and roads in America? Because everything else has been going pretty good. Why can't we raise the minimum wage in this country? Because everybody at the top seems to be doing pretty well. Things have more than stabilized. It's a booming economy. Get your cell phones out. I want to know what you think. Tonight's question: do Republicans have any credibility left on the economy? Text A for yes, text B for no to 67622. You can always go to our blog at ed.msnbc.com. We'll bring you the results later on in the show. And one more thing. Use your imagination tonight, as I started out talking about fantasy football. Use your imagination tonight. Fantasize what it would sound like if Mitt Romney was the president of the United States right now. Oh, this is Mitt's economy. It's a good thing we elected Mitt in November of 2012. In fact, this Mitt is probably the best economic president we've ever had. I make the case that's what we would be hearing. For more, let me bring in two gentlemen who know the economy. Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist David Cay Johnston and economist Dr. Arthur Laffer of Laffer Associates. Great to have both you gentlemen with us tonight.
Thank you, Ed. It's
David
a pleasure.
Cay, can the Democrats, officially say that the Obama economy is booming by the numbers?
Well, it's getting a lot better, it's getting a lot better, Ed. I think it would be getting better if the Republicans were willing to invest in the future of America by fixing up the infrastructure we've been consuming and using up, by putting money into basic research, which government always funds, and by putting money into education, especially higher education. But we're doing well. We're going in the right direction. We could be getting there a lot faster, but for this ideology that makes tax a four-letter word.
Mr. Laffer, we were told by conservatives that Obamacare was a job killer. We were told that if the Bush tax cuts were to expire and we would go back to the old Clinton rates, that it would be a job killer. Why were they wrong on that? Were they wrong on that? Your thoughts on it?
Well, let me just say I loved your monologue, Ed, and I really do think you're completely correct that the Democrats should run on the economic record. I really agree, but I do think you're incorrect on some of the numbers that you use, and I don't mean to get into the details, but employment. I mean, you've seen the unemployment rate come way down, just as you said it did, but what you didn't mention is that the participation rate has fallen equally as rapidly, and every person who's gone off the unemployed roll has literally gone out of employment into the not out of the labor force. So if you look at employment as a share of the total adult population, it's been flat for 7 years. Now, that's not to say that W wasn't as bad as any president we've ever had. He was, and I said so back then. But Obama's not done anything to make the employment go. If you look at GDP, I mean, the total amount of goods and services produced. Last quarter, it was down by 2.9%, Ed, in real terms. Now, it is below the long-term trend by more than any period in the last 67 years.
Okay.
So it's a real serious problem.
So, Mr. Laffer, Okay, I respect your answers, but it sounds like you think that the Bureau of Labor Statistics is cooking the books at 6.1%.
No, I don't think so at all. I don't think so at all. I just think you're not mentioning the participation rate. And that's equally as important as the unemployment rate.
All right. I asked you if, the Republicans told us that if we don't extend the Bush tax cuts, that it would kill jobs. That clearly didn't happen. Would you agree?
No, jobs have been created only at the rate of growth of population. Now, if you want to say that population has grown for the last 17, 18, 35 years, that's true. It's grown every single month. That's why employment has grown, is because the population has grown, but the employment to population ratio has not grown. There's not been a recovery in that, and that's what's happened.
All right. Your thoughts on that, David Kaye?
Well, I agree with Arthur that I've written about this repeatedly, that especially during the Bush years and at the end, we had the population growing at one point, I think, at 10 times the rate of job growth. But why don't we have job growth? It's because instead of using our tax money, instead of using our tax money to invest in the economy in the ways that I've described, we're in this mode of, if we cut the boss's taxes, I'll lose my work. And what do we find out in California? We raise taxes in California by the voters, roughly a third on $1 million-plus earners, and California's job growth is 50% higher than the nation as a whole. Now, there's a lot of complex reasons for that, but you cannot make the case anywhere that raising taxes on the incomes of those at the top is suppressing jobs. You could make the case if it was, say, doubling the Social Security tax.
Can I
want to go to minimum wage. Yes, go ahead, sir.
Go ahead. No, I do agree with that you should, of all the government spending, the most productive, education, infrastructure, those are all the right things to spend on. No economist would disagree there. The question is, I have never heard of an economy being taxed into prosperity when, in fact, the monies are squandered as they were by Bush and as they were by Obama in stimulus packages that just threw the money away. That makes no sense. But spending on good programs is great.
All right, Mr. Laffer, we've heard that Obamacare is a job killer. We've heard that the Bush tax cuts expiration would be a job killer. What about minimum wage? Now we're hearing that this would kill jobs. Do you believe that raising the minimum wage to $10.10 would kill jobs in America?
I think it would hurt the job market, yes. I mean, it would hurt it because you're taking the money exactly away from those companies who are employing these minimum wage workers, and they're going to hire less people. It's very simple. If you take more money away from them, they're going to hire less.
Isn't that a theory? Corporate profits are through the roof. Wall Street's doing great. It's rolling. The Dow is reaching record highs. I mean, we have seen gasoline go up since 2009, 44%. We've seen food prices go up. We got to help folks, and they are earning. I mean, they're helping create that wealth. So I don't see that raising the minimum wage would kill jobs in America.
But it would, because, frankly, the profits that these companies are having are not all in the backs of the minimum wage worker. These are in everyone else. Imagine if we raised the minimum wage to $200 an hour. I'm a hypothetical, just so you can see the principle.
No, we're not doing
How many of those?
But
the hypothetical shows you the effect that this would have. Although it'd be much, much smaller. You're completely correct on that. But you're taking the money from the companies that hire these small, low-wage workers. Those are the companies you want to support. Now, if you want to supplement the minimum wage, let's do it. But let's not do it on the backs of those people who employ them.
We're going to talk. We're going to talk more about this. I'm going to have you back again. I appreciate both of you being on. David Kaye Johnson and also Arthur Laffer with us tonight. I'm a demand guy. I believe you create demand, the economy goes. You put money in people's pockets and pay them for the job they do, the economy's going to cook. That's where I'm at. I'm not a supply sider in that regard.